Of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
In the R-O-C. Yeah. Introducing newest acquisition to the R-O-C. Rockefeller, y'all. Young princess of the rock. Yeah. Teairra Marie.
Gotta get your Harlem Shake on.
Busy. Come on.
There any boys around that know how to make a girl feel, that wanna make a girl feel, make her feel good. All I wanna know is there any boys around that know how to make a girl feel, that wanna make a girl feel, make her feel good. I just wanna know, do I have to tell her how to touch me? Do I have to tell her how to hold me? Do I have to tell her when to call me? Do I have to tell her I'm lonely? Do I have to feel wrong when it ain't strong? Keep my mouth closed. Can a girl from the hood find a homie and ain't just tryna hang around me? Do I have to show her I'm a woman? Do I have to apologize for my emotions? Do I have to tell her what to say to me every time he wanna get next to me? Do I have to settle for a cat that can't score a stroke as he go?
Girl, no. Welcome back into hour 2 of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Shout out to TT, Teairra Marie. That was a bop. Everybody expected. That was the jam. You know where I feel like Def Jam went wrong? We talk about this all the time, kind of, with Teairra Marie. They released that No Daddy song as her second single, and I just think that killed it. You know, do you remember that song? The chorus was like, I don't remember the rhythm, and you guys know that singing currently is not my best forte, but I'm going to try and give you a clue. Okay, but you got to hear the chorus and the lyrics.
You keep on saying what I can and I cannot do. Well, I'm back.
It does sound very 2000.
I ain't had no daddy around when I was growing up. That's why I'm wild and I don't give a. Y'all think 'cause these jeans fit, I'll give it. Don't let my cute face fool ya.
This should not have been the second single. Not. You coming off of what we just played, Make a Girl Feel Good, and this is what you're following it up with? And that chorus, like, don't nobody want to hear that?
Low key, just that was a reminder of that song, that No Daddy record. And the first one that we played, Make Her Feel Good, she sounds grown. This one, No Daddy, she sounds like a kid.
Right.
She gave me like Willow Smith vibes and all that. So I don't know.
Yeah, it just was a mismatch. Shout out to Fahima in the chat. She says, "Did you see the Soul Train Awards? Keke Palmer did a great job hosting." I mean, Keke Palmer is a modern day Renaissance woman. She can sing, act, dance, host, direct. You know, she's talented. I wouldn't expect anything less from her. So shout out to Miss Palmer. You know, she just keeps announcing more things, more things. We want her to have all good things right now. Urban Spinster says, childhood trauma chorus. Indeed. I just, that was not it. It just wasn't it, you know? And I feel like when Teairra Marie came back, what was it, maybe around 2008, 2009-ish, she had a song called Sponsor. My sponsor, he go and bye. This is before the City Girls. The beat was banging and, it just was the thing. But sometimes it just doesn't connect. You might be a little ahead of the curve, maybe a little behind, maybe your team isn't all the way right. But I feel like there were some bangers out there, Shout out to Miss Thomas. So listen, before we get into that story, because, it's fun, we have to send some love to Serena Williams. Yesterday, she tweeted out that, she wasn't okay mentally, but there's always tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a better day. We know she just had her second daughter earlier this year. And, postpartum depression, not saying that that's what she's going through. I just like to make sure I clarify with you guys. I don't want anything to be misconstrued. I'll tell you when I'm like boiling tea on you. But I really think that, Serena is one of our living icons, someone that for a lot of us, we have seen her move through these paces and take her journey. So I really hope that she's okay.
She's missing the game.
That's what you think it is?
100%.
I wonder about that because, her decision to retire didn't seem out of nowhere, but it did seem like she still had a passion burning. And I know she alluded to, well, maybe I'll come back. I think that is a great point, Andy. We talk about it with male athletes all the time. What happens when they decide to retire or they're forced into retirement. And there's a regimen that you keep up with when you're an athlete. There's a way that you work out, the way your day is structured. And you lose that when you are removed from the sport. So it's definitely an adjustment.
I mean, from a kid all the way into your adult life, this is what you identify as. And, like you said, you walk away from it. Who am I?
Right.
Low key, I think it's the same thing with the Iman Shumpert to a degree. I think him being retired potentially brought out the bad stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of hindered their relationship. I don't know. I'm just speculating.
No. I know. I mean, I understand. Well, here's the thing that is true. I think it's something like 60% of professional athletes end up divorcing. I think something like 3 to 5 years. In addition to them going broke after, maybe not so much anymore, but after they retire in a couple of years, they also generally, end up out of their marriage relationship because when they got into it or when it started, they were on the road a lot. They were on a routine. Now you come home and you're faced with, is this the same person I know? Day in, day out. They don't have that routine. Gilbert Arenas mentioned on his podcast how the worst part of the day for him was between 11 a.m. and 2 o'clock. And do you know why that was?
Why?
That is when athletes go to practice. That is when basketball players generally have practice from. So at that time of day, he's used to, being around the gym, working out or whatever, and, getting his workout on. So it becomes very apparent, he said, to himself and some other athletes when you get to that time of day and you're just like, what's up? What's happening? So, I don't know. When we come forward, we're going to get into this reheated beef with Teairra Marie and Keri Hilson, plus more trending topics and headlines. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
The Chase Ink Business Premier Card is made for people who make things happen, like me. I'm Sam, founder and CEO of Manifest, a product design company that makes everyday products designed smarter. I get 2.5% cash back on purchases of $5,000 or more, plus unlimited 2% cash back on all other purchases, which helps us make more smart ideas into a brilliant reality.
The Ink Business Premier Card. Learn more at chase.com/business premier. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Account subject to credit approval. Restrictions and limitations apply. Cards are issued by JP Morgan Chase Bank, any member FDIC.
The City of Los Angeles Civil Rights Department and its LA Repair Participatory Budgeting Program invite nonprofit organizations to submit proposals to turn community ideas into reality. More than $5.4 million is available to make a difference in the Arleta, Pacoima, Westlake, Skid Row, South LA, Leimert Park, and Harbor areas. Don't wait. Proposals are due on November 29th at noon. To apply, visit repair.lacity.gov. LA Repair gives people real power over real money. Visit repair.lacity.gov.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So listen, you know, the R&B Money podcast features singer Tank and his manager and new artist, or well, not new artist, re-emerging artist, Jay Valentine. Shout out to them. That's family right there. And on a recent episode, they featured Keri Hilson on there. And, you know, Keri has had an interesting career arc. Many say that, you know, making one choice on the red carpet kind of sent her career into a very different direction. If you don't remember, it was years ago. Keri was at some event. I can't remember what it was. And I don't even remember what magazine it was, but whatever the magazine was, whoever she was interviewing with on the red carpet, they asked her if she would take a photo with the magazine cover, the physical magazine, and, you know, give them a drop. Hey, it's Keri Hilson, shout out my magazine, whatever. And the magazine, that particular edition of it had Beyonce on the cover. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it was just, you know, because sometimes artists and celebrities in general are very particular about giving drops at events or things of that nature, or taking a photo with your product or, you know, your brand or things of that nature. Because, I mean, they know their worth, some, you know, to a degree. They also may not know your worth. So they want to make sure if it looks as if they are endorsing something, that it's something that they are familiar with, that they can stand on, that they don't mind. So there are times when maybe you might want to ask them to do a drop if you come across them, and they'll tell you no, that they don't do that, or that they won't take a photo with your t-shirt, right? Not a big deal, you know? Happens. So she didn't do this, but we know that it went viral and it was said that she didn't do it because it was Beyonce and she had beef with Beyonce. And the Beehive is vicious. The Beehive does not play. And so I guess there was just a lot of negativity. This was during early Twitter too, when Twitter was still the wild, wild west. Fun, but the wild, wild west. And so I think it just caused, a shift maybe in her. I think because of all the negativity that she was receiving and, some other things. So she kind of took a pause from the performing aspect, was still a songwriter, was doing some acting, and so now she's back. Well, on this particular segment of the R&B Money podcast, it's called I Ain't Saying No Names. And basically the guest of the day, whoever's in the hot seat, shares a story that happened to them at some point that is either funny, intriguing, shocking, but they don't say the names. So on this particular episode, Keri shared a story about where she was performing and that there was another artist in the front row that was just on her phone being disrespectful, she felt. And then when she saw this particular artist backstage, that she was trying to be all, hey girl, and it just didn't work. And, they almost came to blows, blah, 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 blah. So here's a little snippet of Keri talking about it. And then I will share with you how the internet did its thug thizzle and almost got this beef kicked back off in 2023.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, the deep side.
And took a sip of water, too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. When you're a performer,
yes,
we know how important it is to give love to other performers.
Yes.
Right? Especially when you happen to be sitting on the front row at their show.
Okay. I like where it's going.
Mind you, no one else was performing. Was anybody else performing that night? Do you know what night I'm even referring to yet? Okay, it's fine. All right, fine.
Okay.
Okay.
New for him too.
All right.
All right.
Yes. He was there. Okay, so I remember just this I don't want to be here energy. I don't know why I'm here. She was with a gentleman. She was his guest. I know the guy very well.
So she went on to explain that, basically what I said when they met up backstage, and that Teairra, because obviously we're talking about Teairra, Marie, didn't have good energy, and Keri kind of said something to her. It was something about the phone, and Keri came at her about her being on her phone. And Teairra said the Detroit almost came out, but she reined herself back in. Long story short, Teairra has also shared her version of the story many years ago. But you know how you internet detectives are. You are very, very crafty. And they put it together that Keri's story was in fact the same story that Teairra had shared many years ago, and it kicked things off. Well, Teairra has been keeping a little low profile seems as of late. So she left a comment on the blog, The Neighborhood Talk, and said, y'all, people gotta leave me alone. I don't bother anybody. Just leave me the bleep alone. So now, Keri, what's up? You want to fight or do you not want to fight? Because I'm going to whoop your butt when I see you. I'm sick of people bothering me. You had a whole different story when I was in your face. You're a liar. And she just didn't end it with, you're a liar. Right? So TT was heated. She was like, we could get this thing back started because supposedly, depending upon whose version of events that you hear, Teairra, who at that time was young and feisty, did not do her young and feisty thing. She just kind of let it go. And, that was that. But supposedly it was Keri that approached her rudely. So I don't know, it's a perspective thing. Sounds like it's a communication thing. It may have been a misunderstanding. Teairra said that although she was on her phone, something happened, her dog was sick and they were letting her know, and just basically what sounds to be a misunderstanding. Well, Keri came along and addressed it as well. In the comments, she says, well, fellas, I guess the I ain't saying no names segment didn't work too well this time. Unfortunately, this did happen around 12 or 13 years ago. I never actually knew until I saw the previous post that you also told this story publicly. Listen, we were very young in our careers, and I was remembering how I felt when it happened, but I don't feel a way about this situation now. She said, since then, we've run into each other, apologized, partied together, and gotten past that. I'm responding to this because I don't want to allow anything to bring us back to a place we've long passed. And since it was a public story that got connected to you in public, it deserves a public apology. I'm sorry for telling the story, especially with the energy and hurtful words that I used. It was unnecessary because my feelings and energy at this point in the present moment are nothing but love. No ill will or vitriol towards you. It's an old story that I see now that we've both told. I hope you're doing well in this season and wishing you the best in life. Well, one thing is that when Keri was telling the story, she said that the singer was irrelevant. So, that's got to sting. And I'm sure that has some of the reason why Teairra responded as such, because, she's probably feeling like, I'm just sitting at home minding my business. Why are you bringing me into this? But I do have to say, much respect to Keri with how she came back and addressed it and handled it. I'm sure that had to be a bit humbling for her to say that as well. Just, she probably isn't in that space anymore and, probably didn't want to deal with the negativity, but she addressed it as an adult, apologized for how it may have made Teairra feel. Didn't necessarily apologize for what she said, but she apologized for the energy that she used in saying it. So I think that's fair. And I think sometimes we just gotta, talk or own up and be honest. That hurt my feelings. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I was being funny. We could clear up a lot of stuff with that and keep it moving. Doesn't make anybody a sucker on any side of the equation. It just is life. Andy?
Shouldn't she really be mad at the fans for bringing her name up? I mean, Keri Hilson didn't really say any names, right? She would just share the story, and obviously, those who consume, like you said, Twitter detectives. You know what I'm saying? They piece things together, and I'm sure they tagged her. They tagged Teairra Marie. So she should be mad at.
I think she's mad at because of. And Keri alluded to it. How Keri described the unknown singer and the things and words that she used to describe the situation in 2023 probably made Teairra feel like, are we still beefing? Are we beefing? Oh, okay. I'm running the fade when I see you. I got that for you. Okay. That's what it sounded like to me. I don't know if that is exactly what it was, but we don't have to worry about it anyway because Keri said, I'm going to be big and I'm going to squash it and we're going to let it go. And she's probably behind the scenes talking mess to Tank and Jay Valentine like, see? Everybody else's I ain't saying no names goes off with a hitch, and we're just left with, I wonder what that was, and it's highly entertaining. Me, it's beef.
Teairra Marie does come off like a hothead, though.
I'm gonna, first of all, December 2nd, shout out to TT, that is her birthday. She's a Sagittarius, it's coming up. All right, full disclosure, Teairra was a friend of mine. We hung out. We were friends for a time period. That's my girl. She was. And I think they both admitted that, people have talked about coming across Keri and maybe it not being such a great experience. They mistook or she was giving, I don't know, wasn't there. They felt that she was not the nicest person. And Keri has alluded to, maybe at times she may not have been the nicest. Everybody has a bad day. That's what I will say. And it's hard being a public figure sometimes, and maybe you're dealing with other things of that nature. So I think to what Keri said was actually on point. She said that, they were both young and, now they're grown women. We know we're full of bravado at times. Now, Urban Spinster, she seemed to have checked this out, watched that episode of the R&B Money podcast. She said Keri was also very spicy on the podcast, which wasn't that long ago. It was just a couple of weeks ago when they did the episode, when the episode aired or whatever. And this actual event that occurred happened, what did they say, 13 years ago. So probably in the 2010s when the No Boys Allowed era for Keri, I just think sometimes too, as women, especially as women in entertainment, women in general though, are taught to be competitive with each other in different ways. It's not as overt as, men when they're playing a sport and it's supposed to be that way. Women compete in subtle ways, and sometimes, especially as an artist with certain setups, anything can go down. Fahima in the chat says, so you're saying Becky will want a divorce? I can't remember. I know what that topic was, but I can't remember what that comment was in reference to. So it's my bad, Fahima, for waiting so long to getting to it. But 50-60% of marriages end up in divorce currently. I mean, most people I'm sure aren't married to get divorced, but the reality is a lot of them will. You just got to see what happens and make the most of the experience while we're there, right? When we come forward, more trending topics, more headlines. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Why every answer to my question is a question? Why can't my be my own little something that every girl on my block can't say they done bumped with? I'm so tired of these so-called wanna be hardcore pretenders that have no clue. Gain a chick from the hood, find a homie. I ain't gotta tell how to put it on me. Boys around that know how to feel, that wanna make a girl feel, make her feel real.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Doug Davis with the latest from the Black Information Network. The U.S. is continuing to push for the extension of humanitarian pauses in fighting between Israel and Hamas. More than 100 hostages held by Hamas have been released since the temporary ceasefire went into effect last week. The truce was extended for a seventh day today. The House Minority Leader says the Democrats have no official position on the expulsion of New York Republican George Santos. Hakeem Jeffries, who was black, told reporters today that the vote set for Friday is an issue of conscience. On this day in history in 1971, the television movie Brian Song aired on ABC. The story was based on the relationship between Chicago Bears running back Gale Sayers, who was black, and Brian Piccolo, who died of cancer. Also on this day in history in 1982, Michael Jackson released his sixth studio album, Thriller, selling more than 120 million copies. It's the best-selling album of all time. And that is the latest. I'm Doug Davis from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
What will you find at Macy's Backstage? How about the perfect holiday gifts, just $25 and under, like matching family PJs, fragrance sets, toys, and more. Find the latest trends, new arrivals, and great prices at a Macy's Backstage store near you.
Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, Black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any Black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Stay Housed LA has the resources you need to know your rights and the legal support to back them up. The COVID-19 pandemic has cost people their jobs and livelihoods. This has left an estimated 1/3 of households not being able to make rent and facing losing their homes. This is a fear no one in our community should have to face. You have rights, though, and Stay Housed LA is here to help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, and local community and legal service providers. Together, they provide tenants with the information and support needed to exercise their rights so they can remain safely in their homes. Find out more about your rights by participating in a virtual tenant workshop. Get the legal assistance you need. Find additional resources in Los Angeles County and the City of Los Angeles. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA County for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. That's stayhousedla.org. Or call their hotline at 213-694-0040. We've got your black with a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide cleans better than the leading competitive free detergent, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues.
Plus, Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Restaurants, everything in this world that a man could want. Got a bank account big quicker than the law should allow. Still I'm lonely now. Pretty faces from the covers of the magazines. From their covers to my covers, wanna lay with me. Fame and fortune still I find. Just a poor man running out of time. Even though it seems I have everything, I don't wanna be a lonely fool. All of the women, all of your expensive cars, all of the money don't amount to you. So I can make believe I have everything, but I can't pretend that I don't see that without you, girl, my life is incomplete. Said, without you, girl, listen, you've heard.
I think Montel Jordan produced this, or wrote it. I think so. Shout out to Cisco. That is from Unleash the Dragon album. As I said, that was released, I think, in 1999 on November 29th. It was produced. Oh, today, November 30th. Okay, it was today. Okay. I knew it was close to here. All right. Not quite Michael Day, but close. Montel Jordan, I figured that was his pen. And do you know who was the lead in this video? Because I remember that too. Some people say we look alike. He like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Lisa Ray. Lisa Ray was the lead in this video. Random, I know. I'm full of random facts. Just happens sometimes. It's just like that. Just pull those out there. So, listen, we did talk a little bit earlier this week about T.I., Tiny, and King, the Harris family. And we talked about standing on business. We know King said he was standing on business about how he grew up in the bando and he didn't have no silver spoon in his mouth. It actually was a passy according to his parents, but same thing. But that doesn't mean that T.I. is playing about him and his, right? So first, he came for the internet the other day. Like, y'all don't let this little family, little tussle get y'all messed up. I still about my kids, my family, my wife, my people, right? We expect that. Well, we got some video earlier today about a club in Atlanta, right? That T.I. went to and went off on the club and the owner after they made a flyer making fun of his situation with King. So what they did, the club is called 11, and on the club, they have R&B Wednesdays. And on the flyer, they put a photo of T.I. and King. And it says, sing, sip, or get choked out this Wednesday. Well, Clifford Harris went up to the club. And he basically told them, you put me and mine on an MF flyer, give me everything. And if you can't, don't play with me. And so not only did this club, T.I. wasn't going to be there. Neither was King. They had no appearance. But people do that, put whomever on the flyer. Then they had to redo the flyer, right? And on the flyer was a more up-to-date photo of T.I. and King listed as special guest. And I guess T.I. took all the money that the club made for the night, right? Standing on business. Listen, I know that people have their feelings about T.I. and Tiny as parents, as things like that, but, and this might be a little tricky, I like the way he handles his son. I know that is not the best, but obviously King is going through some things, the way he's feeling about his parents. And I feel that T.I. still shows him, in my opinion, outside looking in, that he loves him as a man, as his son, but he is not going to allow him to, one, disrespect him or his mother, and two, watch your conduct, watch how you're out there. I did stuff so you don't have to. And, at this end of the day, he still loves his child. Of course, I don't know what happens behind closed doors, but I just appreciate the way that he presents as a father. Not perfection, but real and in there. And I don't necessarily think that it is a bad thing. I know what it is. Shout out to Forensic Accountant in the chat. He says, the first video I ever saw Lisa Ray play the lead in was With You by Something for the People. Was that before or after Toss It Up by Tupac? Because I thought that was the first video she ever did. Maybe that wasn't the first video you saw, Forensic Accountant. But I think, I could be wrong, but I believe Toss It Up was the first video Lisa Ray did. So shout out to her if that was the case. Shout out to, like I said, Unleash the Dragon. I feel like is an underrated album. Like, there was some bangers on there. It was just a sad thing that he made no money from the Thong Song because they messed up and didn't clear that sample. Can you imagine? I can't even imagine. I know he came out with a part 2 album, but it just didn't happen. And then, Dru Hill has gone through their multitude of different formations. I guess it's kind of like a New Age Temptations, because the Temptations rotated a lot of, members in and out as well. So I'm just glad that they still tour and perform, although I haven't seen Dru Hill perform in person in quite some time, but I'm still going to hit the Tell Me Bop and the remix to In My Bed, one of my favorites. And I'm riding on the Unleash the Dragon Cisco album. Had some very nice songs on there. A song called How Can I Love You Tonight? The sequencing. I always talk about sequencing on albums, right? The sequencing on that album is really great. Felt like you were going on an adventure. So that's what I have to say about that. So shout out T.I., shout out to King. Glad that they have resolved their issues and they're going standing on business. Forensic Accountant says she was an accessory and Toss It Up. I mean, isn't that what everybody is when they're in a video, basically? Atmosphere? That's what, when you're on set, that's what they call it. That's what they call the extras, atmosphere. So, I mean, you got to start somewhere. I have been atmosphere in a couple of videos. It's okay. Gets it done. Did what it needed to do. So this next story I know will make some people happy, except for yes, she's finally admitting it. On the last episode of the most recent Kardashians season finale, Kim shared with her, it was during a conversation with Scott Disick. Scott is celebrating his 40th birthday, and they were talking about all the time they've spent together and so forth. I believe there were 19 seasons of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I'm not sure if that number includes the spinoffs like Kim and Kourtney Take New York, Khloe and Kourtney Take Miami, and whatever the various versions of that, Khloe and Lamar and so forth. But 19 seasons, they're now on Hulu. And Kim basically said on the most recent episode that she and her family scammed the system to reach stardom, that they aren't supposed to be here. And I'm sure those words make a lot of her doubters, detractors, happy. Like, yes, she finally said it. But I will subscribe that the level of stardom that Kim and her family have obtained had to be destiny. I mean, a lot of people have tried the blueprint and have gotten nowhere near the same amount of attention. Shout out to Anouk in the chat. He said, what's up? What's up? And Fania says, King's behavior didn't happen overnight, and a parent can't wait until the child is 18 to address their bad behavior. I do agree with that, but I also think that sometimes kids are going to act out, right? Sometimes they are not going to just honor thy mother and father off rip. Sometimes they're going to venture off into other areas, things that are not the greatest place for them if they are trying to find themselves. And there are a myriad of reasons why someone could end up in that space. Now, me saying that doesn't mean that the child shouldn't be held accountable if there's bad behavior, or that they shouldn't be reprimanded, by off-color actions. But I do think that oftentimes, there's a lot to parenting. I think we all know that. And that sometimes kids, even if, and I'm not going to get into T.I. and Tiny's ultimate parenting thing, because I really don't know. Did he live with his grandmother most of the time? I mean, that probably tracks, as they are performers. I know that when I was growing up, I went to school with a couple of children of entertainers, and their parents were frequently out of town working, taking care of things, and they did spend a lot of time, some with, hired caregivers, some with family, and it just, it's a thing, it's life. Even the most perfect, seemingly, kids get into it with their parents sometimes. It's just the natural course of things. Now, granted, King is acting out, but then, where's Major? Major's not doing all of that. That's a lot of but I just think that overall we expect a lot of perfection and a lot of walking that proper line just because the parents or the family are financially established. And we know that that does a lot. It opens up a lot of opportunity. But we know, as with anything, there's pros and cons to anything. And though I'm not trying to excuse or exclude T.I. and Tiny from what is going on with King, but Fahima, as an educator, sometimes there's just moments where kids are going through some things or trying to figure something else out, and they lash out and they act out. So I definitely don't think that they waited until he was 18. If you've ever seen any of their reality show, there were definitely moments where you could tell he was making a left turn, or it was starting to go there, and the parents were making an attempt or speaking on it. But sometimes things are just in our own time. We can't, just like you can't hurry love, you can't rush that either. So, I think that ultimately they'll be okay. When we come forward, we'll get into more trending topics, more headlines. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
Attention Los Angeles County residents. Dreaming of owning your own home? Looking for ways to generate income with your home? Or are you behind on payments and need help? Then mark your calendar for December 2nd. Join us at the Opening Doors Planning for the Stages of Home Ownership event at Magic Johnson Park in Willowbrook on December 2nd from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. for workshops, a resource fair, and much more. Attendance is free. We'll have raffle prizes, food, and more. Dive into valuable resources designed to help you navigate the home ownership pipeline. To learn more or to register for the event, please visit our website, dcba.la/openingdoors. Again, that website is dcba.la/openingdoors. See you at Magic Johnson Park on December 2nd. Doors open at 8 a.m. for registration. This message is brought to you by LA County Department of Consumer and Business Affairs.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So listen, that is not the only T.I. and Tiny story that I have for you. So in addition to that, I mean, y'all just won't let the Harrises rest this week. What is going on? So in addition to that, somebody started a rumor saying that King wasn't even T.I.'s son to begin with. You know, you guys are wrong. I think that's a little far. That's mean. Don't play with children's paternity. So Tiny had to let y'all know that that was not cute, what you're putting out there. There's a gentleman, his name is Bimmy. He is somehow affiliated or related to Deb Antney, who is Waka Flocka Flame's mother. You know, she's a music manager, right? And I believe at one point in time, he was affiliated with or worked for Def Jam. At any rate, some people went and pulled up his photo and said that he was actually King's father. Tiny got on, as she should, and set the people straight. She put up something in her Instagram story to let y'all know, do not use me and my family in their name for clickbait. And I think that, like, that's too far. Y'all can't be, you got jokes, things you can make, but making jokes about a kid's paternity, that's a little mean, don't you think? It's a little rude. On the line, we have Fahima from D.C. You know, I love when Fahima calls in. She always gives us something to think about. Fahima, how are you tonight?
Greetings, Jill. I was going to say what up, but I know it means something else different.
We got to watch that.
Well, yeah, that's why I put in the disclaimer. So I know you're familiar with Jawanza Kunjufu's Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And for those people that are familiar, what Kunjufu said, and this is back in the 90s, he says that some parents will love their daughters, will prepare their daughters and love their sons.
Yep.
And if you look at the way that King was raised and the way their daughter was raised, and I had sent Annie an article, actually T.I. really, truly did go with his daughter to the gynecologist. It would have been more appropriate for the mother to have done so if they were going to go to that level. And I personally, he's 19 years old, technically an adult. And this is my this is my professional opinion. Now, of course, it's kind of wrong for me to assess someone and not have done a psychosocial evaluation. But I think that they damaged him, not beyond repair, because I think that with some therapy he could get it together. But they put boundaries and protections in place, and they tried to make sure that their daughter was protected. And frankly, I think they damaged their son.
So you know what's interesting? Let me tell you what's interesting about that, right? And I would like to ask you, in what way you feel they damaged him. Like, what actions do you feel contribute to this? But I will say, you bring up, because I have heard that phrase, you love your sons, and they raise their daughters, right?
Exactly.
So here's the funny thing, though. Deja, who has obviously, she and Major, same dad, different moms, right? She acts out a little bit in a different type of way on social media as well. She's put out some posts that people consider concerning. She's had, coded, but some things to say about her family life as well. So, I mean, do you think it was a simple thing of being an overprotective father or family unit for the daughter and not paying enough attention to the son? Or do you think that it was something else?
I think exactly what I said. I think that they put boundaries in place, and I think that he went too far. Maybe the mother should have done that he should not have been going to the GYN to see if her hymen was still intact. That was totally inappropriate. And she blocked him on social media after he shared that. And so the thing is, from what I understand, and I don't know, I'm not in their house, from what I understand, he allowed his son to do all kind of stuff. And there were no boundaries in place. And, and I think, I'm not saying that the kid is beyond redemption or anything. A 19-year-old shouldn't be, I'm staying on my business. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. And he wasn't functioning as a 19-year-old.
I mean, a lot of that definitely was, I'm my daddy's son. But I also have to wonder, though, remember King said, though, he didn't live with T.I. and Tiny. He said his grandmama raised him and that he was over in the bando and stuff. So then whose fault is it? I'm joking. I'm being facetious. I know.
I'm just saying that. Well, I will say that because all parents do the best they know how, no matter how traumatic and damaging and harmful it might be. I'm not saying that they set out to, do anything bad to this kid, but most parents do the best that they can, and I'm not sitting here judging. It's just an observation.
No, of course. That's what we do. That's what we're here for. Listen, when we come forward, more trending topics, more headlines coming up next hour. We also will have interviews with the cast of season 3 of Raising Kanan, the Stars hit show. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
I can't pretend it. I don't see that without you, girl, my life is incomplete. Oh, yeah, that without you, girl.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Doug Davis with the latest from the Black Information Network. The U.S. is continuing to push for the extension of humanitarian